Motor outdoors, here we come. Motor outdoors, here we come.
Okay. All right. Welcome to Border Outdoors Podcast. I'm Mac.
I'm Scott.
Hey, Scott.
Hi, Mac.
How was your Christmas and your New Year's? I haven't really talked to you.
It was fine.
Anything
fine.
Exciting? Any more garage doors?
No. Busy.
Yeah.
Everything's busy. Everything's, it's kind of like middle of summer where the kids got baseball all summer and I love it. But then you get halfway through it and you're like, I just want normal. I just want it all to go back to normal. And, every time you go do something, it's fun to do it. But it's just, more and more and more and more. And in my case, I've done a lot of fun shit. It's not all boring ass work. Some ice fishing, lots of other fun stuff. But yeah, it's been hectic. How about you?
Still waiting.
Still waiting. TikTok.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. Minnesota's. Someone was telling me, I don't know how accurate it is, that supposedly over since like this year in snow, that we're like 50 inches. We've gotten 50 inches of snow so far.
That's a lot.
And an average year, like we normally get like 40, and it's January. So they say that like March is the snowiest month, which
I remember seeing on the news a couple of years ago that Wisconsin, Appleton area where I live had like 56 inches of snow for the whole winter. It came out in like April. And it was like, and whatever. And then it showed in Minneapolis had like 58 inches or something. And it was like, okay. And it was like in the Michigan UP had 240. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, so it's, I think in your average year, I think we do get somewhere in the 50 some odd inches, but the UP gets like 200 a year.
Well,
like that was fucking crazy.
The North Shore, after that big snow, it was right around Christmas, that big snow that we got. Yeah. They got like 4 feet up in like Lutzen. And then, you gave me shit for that Zach survival thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
They didn't have power for like a week because they got so much snow, it knocked down all the power lines and shit.
Wow. I bet you he did 4 episodes on that. Well, here we are in the dark.
He just probably put a GoPro on his tractor of him pushing snow.
Oh, I'm in another part of the house. You can't tell because it's dark, but now we're in another part of the house. Now I'm outside. It's nighttime, though, so it's dark. Now I'm driving. There's some light. I'm listening to Conway Twitty.
So let's get a report. So you went tip-up fishing.
I went tip-up fishing. I ate it. Like that was the big highlight. Yeah, I mean we cut some nice northerns and shit like that. But I ate it like comedy movie ate it, like whoop, like you could almost hear the sound effect. Like at one point my feet were higher than my head, and then just boom, it all went to my left ass cheek, and I had like a black ass cheek for like a fucking week. But yeah, I got out ice fishing, did some tip-up fishing.
How thick's the ice over there?
Shit. I'm gonna say we had 7 right now. When we went 2 weeks, that was 2 weeks ago already. No, that was anyway. I would have said it was 7 or 8, and now it's supposedly pushing between 10 and 12. Out on Poigan, at least, bigger lake. So
is that a lot for there at this time, or is this when you're normally at about a foot?
I think it's about normal for about this time because we aren't driving out on the lake for another 2-3 weeks. The guys will drive out at 12. I tell them I don't drive out till 15. Whatever. And if we're riding 10, 12 right now, although we're supposed to get like spring weather again this week, like 40s. All week. So it's I don't know what to expect for ice, but the big fishing tournaments start at the end of the month, and we're always driving then, and then we're running tip-ups until then. on either the channels or the small lakes. So
Nice.
we got a few northerns. We didn't keep them. Nobody wanted to pickle or anything. So
Just threw 'em
we caught
back.
them and threw them back. And it was weird. I've never had fucking northern bleed like that. Like, I don't know what
Their
I don't know what
gums?
I don't know what we did different, but everyone, I put a picture on Instagram, and I'm in the middle of talking, so I look like a doofus when I put it up there. But I put it up there so you can see the blood. Like, there, it doesn't look like much. There's blood all over the ice. There's blood all over me. I mean, they just bled, every single one of them. We
Doesn't it have
caught,
something
I
to
don't know, 5.
doesn't it have something to do with their gums? I thought it was in like February, some wise tale that like they don't bite that well in Minnesota. I think it was like end of January, February, because their teeth get soft, and then that's when you catch them. Then like there's blood everywhere.
Oh, well, there was blood everywhere. I mean, they were bleeders. They were squirters. He's squirter pike. Yeah, they were bleeding everywhere. But yeah, I mean, we went out. Uh, I only got out the once. The guys had been out 5, 6 times. They were out this morning, as a matter of fact. And I mean, it's the same as every year. It's tough to be, I was talking to Mitch last week at Red, and he was talking to me about tip-up fishing in Wisconsin. He's like, "Oh yeah, we should come over and see what that's like." And I'm like, I don't think you would be particularly blown away. And we run tip-ups the same way you guys do, I assume. So uh, at northern fishing, whatever, you go and you set up. I think the difference is, we get 3 apiece.
3 lines, yeah.
Yeah, we get 3 lines, and so 3 of us out there have 9 lines, and you just set them up in a big circle, and then we just sit in the middle and drink beer and bullshit. And when a tip off goes, if you got kids, the kids run. If you don't have kids, then the adults walk. And so that's about it. That's tip up fishing.
Hmm.
We didn't set up shacks or anything. I wish we would have, but
Yeah. So how was Red?
there's no fish in that lake.
I heard it was a slow. Reese from Brotherhood was up this last weekend, and they got more than you guys got, but I've heard a lot of reports it's a dead sea.
Yeah, one perch. That's what we got. 1 10-inch perch on a rattle.
Is there more to this story, Scott?
Yeah, well, are you asking because I had a million problems, or because I was on Red Lake and I caught a perch and you're wondering if it went in somebody's ass?
A little bit of both.
Because we didn't cross. Well, now that you mention it, we didn't cross over onto the res land, so no perches in the ass. Yeah, I kind of delayed getting ready to go. Until we were leaving on Tuesday, and I kind of started getting everything ready on Sunday, and I had everything ready to go, and then like it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I had everything all packed and ready, and I had time to kill, so I decided to check the oil in the generator, and it looked like it was low, and so I was
Does it
like,
have a
well, how much
dipstick
is
on it?
yeah.
Like when you open it, it has like a
Yeah,
little...
and it showed just a little bit of oil on the bottom, and I was like, well, how, is it supposed to show just on the bottom, halfway up? Usually it's halfway up or whatever. So, I decided I'm going to check the manual. I'm going to do the right thing here, and I checked the manual, and it says it's got to be halfway up the dipstick, and you need to have about a liter of oil in it. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so that's whatever. Now I should tell you that 3 years ago I went to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor told me, "You're 45 years old." This was 3 years ago. 2 years ago, I'm 47. And he said, "You're going to lose your nearsightedness." And I said, "Get out of here. You're an asshole." And he said, "Nope. 45 years old, everybody loses it. To anyone listening, if you're coming up on 45, you're going to lose your nearsightedness. It's the way it is." And I thought he was full of shit. And by halfway through the year, like, I was having to hold my phone really far away, like to talk on it. or to look at it because I had lost my nearsightedness. The reason that's relevant is because as I was adding oil, I had a liter of oil and I kept adding it because it wasn't showing on the dipstick. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm out of oil. And I added a whole liter of oil. And I'm like, wow, it was really out of oil, I guess. So I put it back on, fired it up, and it started rocking violently, like shaking and rocking, and this just plume of white smoke exploded out into the driveway, and then it stopped. And I was like, well, what did I do? And so I got out the magnifying light glass thing for my phone. Point 0.3. It didn't say add a liter. It said add up to 0.3 liters. I added a liter, 3 times the recommended amount on top of whatever else was already in there. And so I picked up the whole generator, opened up the oil, drained it all out completely, and then put in 0.3 liter, and then went to pull the pull start, and it wouldn't pull. It was all seized up. And so I just pulled harder. And eventually it started up, and it spit and sputtered and shook and threw white smoke at the neighbor lady's house, and eventually it ran fine. So I was like, oh, I'm good. So I'm good. That's my disaster this year for Red Lake. Last year Alex dropped his phone in the lake. This year I almost blew up my generator. It's probably not going to last very long. I probably screwed it up by putting too much oil in it, but I should be okay.
It worked all weekend?
Like a champ, actually.
So like, I forgot, I wanted to mention this last year when we went. What kind of generator did you get and how did you buy it?
It's cheap. I think the brand name is WEN, or something like that. And I looked it up at one point, and it said the Honda generator, like the Briggs engine or whatever that's in that, is the same one that's in like this WEN. And then there's another one, the one that Butch had last year.
Well, Butch had the Briggs and Stratton, but another popular one is the Harbor Freight.
Yeah, and they're all supposedly the same, but the Honda runs cleaner.
Yeah.
And so it was like $350 or something on Amazon. And I'm like, well, I don't have a generator. I'll just get one, and if it lasts a couple of years, big deal. I'll better than buying a Honda and destroying it right away, right? And yeah, as a matter of fact, while we were at Red, just to put a period at that sentence, the only problem I had with it is it ran out of oil.
It's burning?
Well, I put such a little amount in, and the manual also told me if it runs out of oil, it will just stop.
Shut off.
And so at one point I went to put gas in it. I put gas in it, went to start it. It wouldn't start. And the no oil light was coming on. So I added approximately 0.3 liters. And 0.3 and A do not look that much similar. So it really shows how blind I am. But I added oil to it. Put gas in it, fired it right up. It worked like a champ all weekend. So the generator problem I thought was going to be the worst of my problems. Turns out it wasn't. Monday night, I had the Jeep like totally packed and ready. I got one of those like hitch, like, I don't know, like
the
a
baskets.
Shelf.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I had the generator and a 5-gallon gas can. Got to tell you about that too. The generator, a 5-gallon gas can on that thing, all ratchet strapped down. Jeep is piled high. I had everything in there. It was me, my son Alex, and his girlfriend Haley going. And I got him up at like 6:30 Tuesday to drive 8 hours to Park Rapids to meet up with everybody before we then drive about 2 hours over to Red Lake, which you told me before the early December. You said you're going to drive all the way to Paul's. That's 8 hours. And then you're going to drive another 2 hours to get to Red Lake, which is 8 hours away from you. So you're adding 2 hours.
Yeah.
That became far more obvious to me after we got started driving. But I get them up at 6, and we get on the road, and we grab some McDonald's, a little McDonald's breakfast. It's just after 7 at this point. And I go to the on-ramp by my house, and I get halfway up the on-ramp. I hit a bump, and the whole Jeep just starts shaking violently, like the steering wheel, everything just shaking out of
Death
control.
wobble?
Death wobble. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? And Alex is like, well, should we pull over and check? Yeah. No, we're just gonna drive like this the whole way. And so next exit, I get off, I go to a gas station. I'm looking at it like I'm a mechanic, like I know what I'm looking at. And I don't see anything wrong with it. And I get inside them like, oh, I wonder if I hit the axle lock or something on the Rubicon or whatever, where it's got all those like rock climbing things. So I convinced myself that's what it is, randomly hitting switches to make sure everything's off. And we get back on the road, and all is well. Drives fine, everything's fine. Get about 2 hours away. We're just north of Wausau, and it does it again. And I'm like, oh shit. And so Alex goes, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, if we turn around and drive home, that's 4 hours of an 8-hour trip, and we're home. So we're not going if we got to go home. So we push on for another half hour. And at this point, it's more often that it's shaking than not shaking. So I'm like, we don't have a choice. We have to go home. There's something wrong with it.
Do you pull over and shut the Jeep off and then start it back up and go, or it just stops?
No, like you're going like 70, 75, whatever, and you hit a bump and it just starts shaking. Like I can't describe the shaking. It's violently shaking. And so you slow down to like 40 and it stops, and then you just keep driving. So every time it happens, you just got to slow way down till it stops, and then you can drive again. Well, at this point, it would happen, and it would happen for like 30 seconds, and then I'd drive for 5 minutes, and it would happen for 30 seconds, and drive for 5 minutes, and happen for 30 seconds. And I'm like, we're not going to drive another 5 hours like this. This is insane. So I turn around. We're somewhere between Wausau and Eau Claire, about 2.5 hours away. 2.5 hours home, get all the way back home. Kids go in the house, miserable, blah, 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 upset. I go to the Jeep dealership, and I'm like, hey, why don't you do an oil change and a tire rotation? And hey, while you're at it, would you mind taking a look? It's doing this or that. And they're like, no, actually, you can go fuck yourself, and we're not going to look at it, is what I heard. And it was like, well, okay. And at this point, they're already going to do the oil change and shit. So I'm like, fine. So I sit there. The guy who sold me the Jeep comes over. Hey, I thought I recognized you. All salesy. And he's like, hey, anything I could do for you? And I'm like, yeah, there is something you could do for me. That Jeep that I spent $60,000 on is all fucked up and in your fucking shop. And just start lighting the guy up. And he's like, ooh, yeah, ooh, gosh, I got somewhere I got to be. We'll see you later. Whatever. Fuck off, salesman. Anyway, I mean, what was he going to do? It's not his fault. I was just in a bad place. But I get the Jeep back. They can't do anything to fix it. I get back home. And I go into Alex, and he's like, well, we're still going, right? And I'm like, it's like 2:00 in the afternoon. It's an 8-hour drive. No, it's 1:00 in the afternoon. It's an 8-hour drive. It's freezing rain as far as we can tell. And Duluth and Minneapolis are getting 5 to 8 inches of snow at that time. And I was just like, everybody else disappoints the kid. I'm not gonna. Yeah, let's go get mom's car. She has like a Pathfinder, like a Nissan Pathfinder. It's an SUV. It's got 4-wheel drive. We'll go get her car, and we're gonna go. And at 2:00, we had everything loaded, and we were back in the car on the road. And we had freezing rain from Appleton to Hudson, about 4 hours. Had slush through the cities. Got off on 10 off of 694. And we were on 690 or on 10 for 10 minutes when the snow started, 20 minutes when it got to be whiteout conditions, and had another apparently 4 hours or so of driving and damn near whiteout conditions all the way down to. There were points where I thought I was in the middle of a field. Like, am I even on a road? I have no idea. And anyway, so we get all the way there. and Paul's like, hey, what time are you going to be here? And they're like, I don't know, GPS says 10:30 or so. And at 9 o'clock, he's like, oh, what are you, lost? You're not here yet. No shit, numbnuts. We said 10:30. And anyway, he's like, there's no snow here. And so we sent him a picture of literally like whiteout condition. And anyway, we get to his place. He's got a glass of whiskey waiting for me. And I drank it, and I drank another one, and I must have had a few after that. Fell asleep, woke up, moved on to Red, got there 8 o'clock. We all got set up in our shacks. We had 4 shacks.
And this is the same guy we went through last year, right? Fishbone.
Yeah, Fishbone. Yeah, and we got set up, and I mean, we had a nice house. It was bunk beds on either side, so it would sleep 4. Bunk beds on either side, and then it actually kind of reminded me of when we went to Arneson's, where you had 4 double holes, basically, except the oven was over one double hole. But otherwise, so I sat. Alex took bottom bunk. His girlfriend Haley took top bunk, and then I took bottom bunk on my side and just threw all the extra shit up in the top bunk. Fucking great. Immediately dropped 6 rattle reels down while we were unloading, and got to work. We stopped in Black Duck and got bait. I asked for 2 scoops of shiners and 2 scoops of fatheads. Apparently a scoop is quite a bit. I thought a scoop was about a dozen. I think a scoop is about 2 dozen. So thankfully for Christmas, I bought myself an Engel cooler like yours.
You did
19 quart, whatever. So plenty of bait. Got in there, got everything started, got everything unloaded, and got to fishing. And at that point, the story gets pretty boring because we didn't really catch any fish. I had my Humminbird Helix 7. Alex was using a Vexlar FL18. At times we thought we saw a fish. It took me a while to realize I was in deep enough water that the fish I think I'm seeing is actually the rattle reel dropped in the second hole. And so I'm catching the minnow, and that's what I think is another fish, which, I get so, you get
Come
so
on, you
intense.
son of a bitch.
Like, oh, there's a fish. God. And I'm like, why are they not biting? What am I doing wrong? And it turns out that was never a fish. It was just the other fucking line. So I, at that point, started pulling up the other line. But we did get a few nibbles. The fish were real finicky. We had, I know Tim said that when they were there, it was 20 inches of ice. I measured it. We had an even solid 16 inches of ice, and that was it. Different parts of the lake are going to have different depths and shit, I get. But jigging, we didn't catch anything jigging. All 3 of us had one hit jigging, and then, you set the hook, start reeling, and it just disappears halfway through reeling. A lot of nibbling, a lot of stolen bait, but they were real finicky. Like when we went you and I went to Lake of the Woods.
We went to Lions.
At Lions, remember they were real finicky, and we were going to use stinger hooks.
Yep.
In the tails, because they were just nibbling at and that's the same thing. Anything we got was just nibble, and they wouldn't bite, except for the one perch that hit a rattle reel, and that was it. And Mitch and Danielle, I think, got a couple fish, but they had like 10 mice.
Yeah, he was telling me that.
And
he called the guy at like 2 a.m. because he killed like a couple mice, and there was a bunch more. And then as they packed up, there's like 5 or however many on the outside of the fish house running around. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like a massive infestation. And I'm glad he didn't tell me about that night, because I was trying to sleep, and like they've got those like gas lanterns.
Yeah.
In there, and I left one gas lantern going so that we could take care of the rattles if they went off. And out of the corner of my eye, I can just see movement on it. And I look up there, and it's just a ladybug. It's not I don't really know the difference between Asian beetles and ladybugs, but I think it's just a ladybug. And drive me crazy. So I get up and I go get a paper towel and squash. It's dead. Go throw it away. And I go lay down and there's another one. And then I see like 3 more come out. Now there's like 4 or 5 of them on there. And paper towel, squash, 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 squash. Throw them all away. I don't see any, but now I can't sleep because I feel like these things are crawling all over me. And I'm like, oh, I can't sleep. There's a bug infestation. So the next morning I wake up. I can't wait to talk to somebody to really complain. God damn it. We had a ladybug infestation. And Mitch is like, oh, really? We had 10 fucking mice. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so awful. And yeah, it sounds like everybody had mice, which makes sense. I mean, these things have to be stored somewhere in the summer, and they probably aren't stored in a climate controlled, nice warehouse. They're just stuck in a field somewhere.
Yeah, I heard so like Mom and Mike and Grandpa had a house, and I was talking to Mike because she called and told me about Mitch's mouse thing, and she goes, yeah, we had one. She goes, Grandpa and Mike were running around. Grandpa was trying to smack it with a freaking minnow scoop to kill it, and then he hit it and it ran off. And I'm like, God, I would have loved to see that. And then all of a sudden they're packing up, and he goes to put his boot on, and the thing went and died in his fucking boot.
One final FU.
Those big clogs. Like when you and I went to Arneson's and Grandpa's up there, he sounds like he's like from, what is it? Medal of Honor. Like, come on, Cookie, 2 steps. Like,
he's got the biggest boots I've ever seen. It's like clown shoes. The boots are so big. But yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. Paul and everybody but us had mice.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I think when we left, they gave us all the fish. Because I think we were the only ones leaving. I think everybody else had decided to stay at night, or at least a couple of them had. And with Alex's 1 perch, we had 9.
Yeah.
We had the most that we could take. There was 1 over 17. Otherwise, they were all under 17. 3 perch and 6 walleyes that I took home. Filleted them up when I got home. I'll eat them at some point here. I just froze them. And so they gave us all the fish, but that in 2 days, 4 houses with, see here, I don't know, 2, 5, 7, 10 people. 2 houses, 10 people caught 9 fish.
Yeah, and like we were talking, because I called you when you guys were up there, and it was kind of the same thing last year. Like Monday, or like whatever day we got up there last year, the first day was kind of slow. We got a couple, and then throughout the night, I think a couple rattle reels went off. Cody got one. I think I got one, but then like the next day was really quiet. Just like one maybe here and there, and then that last night we slaughtered them.
Yeah.
Because that was when we weren't catching that much, but then I know Mike and Tim and Jane and Paul and Sheila and everyone else was doing good. So then we went back. I think we had like 3. And that's when you and I left to go back for the fish fry at West Winds. And then that's when Mariah was texting us, the bite is on.
It's on.
It's on. And then her and Alex were out there catching fish. And then that night was the best night. We caught a lot of fish that night. That was fun.
Well, and in a short period of time, because it was on at like 6:30.
Yeah.
And it stayed on until about 8. And then what was on was the beers. And those beers lasted till 4 fucking a.m. And
the horseback riding too.
Yeah, we had to get back on the road at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Because every time I go to Red, and I mean that it's just the way it is, I guess. Every time I go to Red, there's a snowstorm. And the snowstorm is not at my home, and the snowstorm is not at Red. It's at the massive space in between that would be either the Twin Cities or Duluth. And I hate that bridge in Duluth. I fucking hate it. I hate driving over big, stupid bridges. I'm fine when the weather's perfect. Like this time we came back through Duluth, sunny skies. I was listening to Power Trip Radio Initials game. I literally listened to it from the time I left Appleton until the time I got home. I think I put in 100 episodes.
Shit.
That's good time passer. That reminds me. When we left Tuesday morning, and we have all these problems. I got the Jeeps falling apart and blah blah blah. And I'm not really complaining. I mean, blah blah blah. I drove the Jeep down to my office to record this tonight. It'll get fixed on Wednesday. We took our Pathfinder. It worked fine. Everything worked out. The world, there's bigger problems in the world than my poor Jeep. But for the drive in my Jeep, the 5 hours in my Jeep, I was listening to Renella's Close Calls book.
Dude, that is a freaking. He's got
It
two
is.
of them now.
It is that guide that like went to get the boat that disappeared or whatever.
And then he was in the water.
And he's in the
drowning.
water and he's like life flashes before his eyes and everything's terrible. And then he catches something with like a foot. It's a rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, and whatever. And I'm just sitting there. Now, I'm in freezing rain in a Jeep that every time it touches the smallest bump, it wobbles out of control. And I'm listening to the sad, like everybody in that book, everybody's like, and at this point, I started praying to God and I started saying my goodbye and I could see my obituary and I knew I was dead and I thought about my family and it's so it's like 5 hours listen to that shit. And I get back and I get Margaret's Pathfinder and I'm like, I'm not listening to that anymore. Like that's the saddest, most depressing shit. I don't know when a good time to listen to that shit is, but I'm never fucking listening to that again.
It's a good book. Like
it was a really good book.
And it's cool that like the people that it happens to are the ones that are telling the story. Yeah, it's sad because like they're all telling the story and end up crying. But like I thought you were gonna go with, yeah, and every time that my Jeep started rocking, I started praying to God and
I could see my obituary, and I was like, "What about
my
family?" No,
that's a good segue, because I wanted to bring this up. Mitch got me a little present from the diaper party. It's a Steve Rinella book that I've actually heard about. I think when he's on Joe Rogan or whatever. I love it when he's on Joe Rogan. It's called Outdoor Kids in an Inside World: Getting Your Family Out of the House and Engaging with Nature. So I'm probably a quarter of the way through. It's a really good book.
Is it like a read book or is it like a list of activities book?
No, it's a read book. Like he talks about like how he moved his kids around a bunch. Like I can't remember if they moved to all these different states when they're trying to do Meat Eater. And then he goes off about like how to like start young so that like, it's hard to like even at my generation to want to go outside when you can sit in the house and play video games.
Oh yeah.
And he just goes on like how you have to try to mold them to want to go outside more than stay inside kind of stuff. And she's got like tips and just little stories about his family and his wife and things they do that have worked and things that haven't worked. And it's a really good book. It's so funny. Like when I read it, I picture his voice. Because he uses a lot of big words. It takes me 10 minutes to like pronounce the word. And and then when I figure it out, it's like I hear his voice in the back of my head, like, talking and narrating the story like on Audible. So I really like it. I could go on Audible and just buy the audiobook and listen to it when I'm at work plowing or whatever. But I'm like, no, I actually want to sit down and read it because it's one of those that you can go back and read it more than once. Because I've already forgot like a lot of the stuff I've read. So I'm really looking forward to finishing it.
Yeah, that's good. Now's the time. My kids are damn near grown.
Yeah.
And Alex is an outdoor kid. But he was into baseball, so he wanted to get outside to play baseball. So going outside wasn't a stretch. Ian's not much of an outdoor kid. Ian's an indoor fella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of just I feel like it's almost like him trying to mold his kids into like what he used to do. Because like his kids trap like fucking beavers and muskrats and
that's crazy.
Like all that.
That's very outdoors.
Well, yeah, like
that's not baseball and ice fishing. That's
and then he goes on and talks about like just taking them to a park and going on a hike and shit like that. Mariah's already said that she got the carrier and she wants to do a bunch of hikes and stuff this summer. And she's like, "Oh, I can't wait to carry the kid and go on walks with the dogs." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I'm like, I'm gonna carry the kid, and I'm gonna walk the dogs while you fucking take pictures." I said it'll be a miserable time for me hiking up freaking hills and shit in Lutz, and I can't already barely do it, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Well, I mean, that's the thing is it's pretty easy to fall in that trap when anytime life changes, really. It's easy to fall in that trap and look for what's easy.
Yeah.
Stick the kid in front of the Teletubbies or something and chill out on the couch. It's pretty easy to fall into that trap because it's what's easy, but it's not necessarily what's worth it.
It's it's so funny because like when you get married, you know how everyone's like, "Good luck, your life is over," blah blah blah. And now like when you're having a kid, and it's a constant patience game like right now, and it drives me fucking crazy. It's like just poop the kid out. Like I want to know if it's a boy or a girl and see the face and everything we've been feeling. Dude, the creepiest thing I've ever felt is we were sitting in bed and I can't remember what morning it was, but then like I was sleeping and then she grabs my hand and I'm like, okay. And then she puts it on her belly, right? And she's like, "Oh, you feel it?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." It was like kind of the first time I actually got to feel the baby move. And the thing is kicking and I'm like, "Oh, weird." And then it's like my hand is flat and all of a sudden I feel this like push up and then go over or across my
Yeah.
hand like he's like a boy or girl's like high-fiving me, and I was like, "What the and it just gave me goosebumps. And then now it's to the point like it's any day, so like she can lift up her shirt and when it's moving it looks like a fucking alien like kicking out, like you can see. I was like, "What the fuck?" Oh, but
Those are the days.
well, no, and that what I was gonna say is now that like when you're having a kid, everyone's kind of doing the same thing. "Oh, just wait. You're not gonna get any sleep for 6 months and all this." And I'm just like, "Ah, fuck you. I'll figure it out." Like, don't
No, we
ruin it.
all figured it out. We all
Like,
got
don't ruin it
sleep.
for me. Don't create more anxiety on little shit. Like, we'll figure it out.
Obviously, you're going to get sleep. Margaret and I had it figured out that I would stay up till 1.
Yeah.
And if Alex woke up or if Ian woke up, whatever, if the kids woke up till 1, I was on kid duty. And then from like 1 to 6, she was on kid duty. And so yeah, I mean from like 8, 9 o'clock until 1 a.m. I want to go to bed, but I can't. And or whatever, I can, but then I gotta wake up and go get the kid or whatever. And so every night I was still getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep. It's
Yeah.
not like I wasn't getting any. And those were on nights where you have to get up. And what do you got to do? You got to get up and go and walk around with the kid, and it goes
Feed,
back to sleep.
feed them or change them or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or whatever. I just go
Yeah.
grab the kid, go shove him on a boob, and go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what's funny is everyone at work's asking me like how much time I'm gonna take off. I'm like, I don't know, because like what am I gonna do? Like
hey,
I can help around the house and with that stuff, but it's like if there's any cleaning or stuff that needs to happen, it's like I can't wait till I get home from work because the kid's only gonna want the boob more than anything. Like
kid
I
wants the boob.
there's not like much I can do besides help her make her life easier. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I like
well, I mean, but that's cool with the book, like we've told the story on here a number of times of when I first came into the family and everyone's out on four-wheelers and I'm in playing video games and blah blah blah. And the reason I guess that's relevant is because when I came into the family, that's what I was into. I liked video games, I like computers, it's what I do for a living. I wasn't a huge outdoor guy. I fished as a kid and stuff like that, but I wasn't much of an outdoor adult. And Ian is and was a lot more like I was. He's video games. He's good with the computer. He's really really crazy ass smart and he figures all that kind of stuff out. But then Alex is a good representation of the next layer, getting into the family, ice fishing, hiking, getting out in the woods, even going hunting. Today I went trap shooting for the first time ever. And it's a total different thing because like a couple weeks ago, I think on the podcast I mentioned that I was looking at a shotgun,
Yeah, did you
But
buy the Super Black Eagle 3?
I didn't. I went and I looked at it. It's like $2,000 is a lot of money for a gun.
Yeah.
And I need a safe. And I know people are like, you don't need a safe. Yeah, I need a safe. I'm just whatever. You do it your way, I'll do it mine. And so it was a lot of money. And so I mentioned to the guys, well, I want to go out and I want to shoot. And I want to try a couple guns, but because it's not like they let you try it out at Shields. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go shoot this one down in menswears. So I but
Hold up them skivvies. See if we can blow a hole in them.
run, boy. So I went up today. That was the first real chance I got. I had been in red all week, and things have just been really busy. And the guys asked if I wanted to go today, and I went. And first round, I didn't hit a goddamn thing. I pulled the trigger 6 times, and I couldn't have missed worse. Kind of the cool thing is there's that like wad in the in the shell, and so you can see, okay, I'm behind it and I'm high. Okay, so next round, I started plugging them pretty good, and I was using, my buddy Andy has the Super Black Eagle 3, 28-inch barrel, 3.5-inch shells. So it'll shoot any size shell you stick in there. And he got the black one with like the fancy like coating on it. Eagle's got same gun, 28, 3.5, Super Black Eagle 3, except his has, I want to say maybe it's a real tree finish on it.
Like a dip.
Yeah. Except his, you can see they bought him at about the same time, but areas on his are starting to wear. Which in his case, he's like, I don't give a shit. He shoots way more than anyone else, and he's had it out in the field duck hunting and
Does he go
goose
turkey
hunting.
Does he go turkey hunting with it?
No,
that's I was gonna say, because I think that's kind of what that gun is for. I mean, obviously you can duck hunt and stuff, but I think it's a lot has to do with like it's really good for turkey hunting.
Well, I would take it turkey hunting, but I really liked it. I was like, I'm gonna buy one, and then we came across a guy who had a Browning over under. This had to be a $5,000 shotgun. I mean, I look at it, I'm like, that belongs in a museum. That is a work of art. That is beautiful. And the over under is nice. But I got to talking to the guys, and they're like, well, over under is fine if you're shooting trap, but if you're gonna go shoot ducks and shit like that, it's not really something you'd want for that. So
it's good for pheasants and grouse.
Yeah,
a lot of people use over unders for pheasants and grouse.
That's something I'd like to try. I don't have a dog though. The place where we went today, it's called Triple J Wing and Clay, and you can go out there, and I forgot, it's like $40 a round. We took the blue. It's a lot like golf, because I started off terrible, and then I figured it out, and I got actually pretty good at it, and I got maybe like 6 of 8 or something like that. I'd gotten pretty good at it. And then I started to overthink it, just like golf, where you miss once and then you start overthinking it. My shoulder, I mean, 120 pulls of that trigger, my shoulder hurts like a son of a bitch. And I think about halfway through, I started adjusting the gun because my shoulder started to get sore. And by the end, I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with that thing. So, but I'm gonna go buy a gun. I want to do it a lot more.
Was it skeet shooting or trap shooting?
Trap.
Oh, so you didn't have like the rabbit going across, or
no?
Oh,
nope.
So it's just you sat in the line, and then it was like the same thing every time.
No. So there is a like a 2x4s build like a station where the shooter stands.
Okay.
And then there is another like a podium next to that. Where we had our little clipboard where we were keeping score, and there were buttons, and the buttons were rigged up to various clay shooters. I guess, I don't know if there's an actual term for them. And then it gave instructions. So like on the first one, you just hit A. And, so you hit A, and then the second you hear the gunshot, you hit B. And boom, boom, okay. And then there was another one where you're supposed to hit A and B at the same time. Boom, boom. And then there was an A, B, C. So you hit A, they shoot A, B, they shoot B. And as soon as you hear the gunshot, you hit the next one. And there was never a point where we hit all three at once, but there were points where we hit two at once. And so, I mean, that's where it got really hard is, I mean, some of these things are fucking fast as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the easy, obvious one was like the lob ball that just goes up and hangs in the air in front of you. Yeah, that one was pretty easy. We all have been pretty good on that. I hit that one so square, just vaporized into black dust.
That's all. Isn't that a good feeling though?
It's very
You're just
satisfying.
like, oh yeah, come on, fuckers, watch out.
Hell yeah. I like that one a lot. But yeah, and then there was a white course, a blue course, and a red course. White course was closed. Some guys were hunting in the woods behind it, or something behind it, or couldn't have been hunting. It's early January. I don't know what they'd be hunting for. Some guys were in the woods off the white area, so we couldn't go in there. And the red is like the expert level. And we tried a couple on the red, and I couldn't hit one. Eagle's really good, and my buddy Bill is really good. These guys, they'll score in the 40s out of 50. It was my first time out, and I think I got like 8 out of 50 or something. But it was the first time I ever went, so yeah. I was just happy I got one.
It sounds really familiar when I did an interview with Tom, and he was talking about like the different skeets and clubs and stuff around here. Sounds pretty familiar with, you pay this and then you kind of grab your gun and you and your buddies go walk to this station, you shoot like 10. Then you walk to this station, you shoot however many, and then you walk, or I think it was 8, 6 or something.
Yeah,
and I was
ours was 6. The first 7 stations were 6, and the last station was 8.
I think we're gonna have to get you over to Minnesota next fall, and whatever gun you decide, I think we got. At that point in time, we're probably gonna be ready to take a trip. I think we should go up to northern Minnesota, bring Ruff, and see if Seth and Corey want to go, and let's just go out for a long weekend and go grouse hunting. I think that's something that you would really enjoy. Let the dogs run around and walk through the woods. No, you don't have to be quiet. You just go for pretty much a hike with a gun, and when a grouse pops out, you freaking smack it. And
that's the wing part of the Triple J is the guys. When we got done, we went over to the bar and grab a beer and talk about how great it was when that one vaporized and blah blah blah. And the guys sitting next to us, they had done. I thought it was pheasant. I guess it could be anything. But they go and they buy 10 pheasants or 10 grouse or 10 birds. They go buy 10 birds.
Yep.
And then somebody goes out on a 4-wheeler and just like sets them places. And apparently they're so scared they don't fucking move. They just sit there. And they come back and they're like, okay, your 10 birds are out there. It's like $30 a bird or something like that. So it's like $300 to go do this. But then they grab their dog and their dogs go out and it's all just training. Sniffing all over. And and then all of a sudden it's like the cartoons, it locks in on it, and then it goes in, it kicks it up, and it takes off, and bang, they shoot it, and they come in, and they got their 10 birds, hopefully, if they're good, and that's the other thing that they do out there is that shit. So I like the trap shooting. I'm gonna do it more. I do like that Benelli. That was nice. That was a nice gun.
Do they have leagues out there? Are you and your buddies going to join a trap shooting league this next summer?
I don't know. There's getting to be more of us that do it now. There's now 4 of us doing it. Plus, my buddy Bill's son. Actually, there's 5 of us, and 2 of the guys, Bill and Jeremy's, both of them have sons who do it and are really good. And so once I go get the Benelli, I'm going to bring Alex out there, and I think Alex would. I think he'd be good at it, but I think he'd have fun doing it. And so get enough of us out there.
Well, yeah, I can't remember how many guys you need. The gun club in town does it. There's a ton around here that do it. But like the guy from work does it all the time. He's been trying to get me to do it for years, and I'm just too big of a cheap ass. I would love to do it. But like they have those game farms and shit around here too. Like they're open all year round. So like if you come in February to say come see the baby, or March or whatever, It's like, oh, well, did you buy that gun? Yeah. We'll get a couple guys. I know my cousin Ron's got a pheasant dog that he's been working with. I'll bring Ruff. Whatever he decides he wants to do, he points at Riley all the time. You go, I think the one up in Little Falls is $20 a bird, but then they clean them, and then you get your bird.
Well, that's worth it.
Yeah, so you go pay $20. I say everyone buys 3 birds, $60. Then if you got 4 guys out there, okay, you got 12 birds. You go walk around, you shoot a couple birds, come back. Now, what are we gonna do with these birds? Let's go freaking cook them.
Yeah.
That'd be
throw
fun.
them on the big green egg, smoke them up, and
fun little day. There's a bunch around here. I've always wanted to do it, and I've always wanted to get into pheasant hunting because I've never really done it. And I think that would be it's something you can do in the wintertime. I mean, the snow is fucking 10 feet deep now, but like in the spring, like when you got like in the spring, you can go do that. You got shed hunting is, oh fuck. I'm gonna save that, but I saw one big buck that had already lost its rack, and that was in December. And that seems pretty early. So like shed hunting's normally March, April. You can go do that. Like you got like a lot of ice fishing shit now, but there's stuff you can go out there and do. Like when you guys are up on Red and I was at work and I'm like, I had the itch so fucking bad. I wanted to go ice fishing. I'm like, I want to go normally I go like once or twice because I'm like, I'm really tired. I do a lot of bow hunting, and this year I did more and I had a lot of other stuff going on, but I'm like, I don't want to stop. Like I want to keep going. And I really wanted to go ice fishing, so hopefully I can get out a couple times. I go buy a fishing license here and maybe go for some crappies or tip ups or whatever. Like we should make a weekend out of it. You guys come see the baby, and I'll just be like, here you go, Margaret. Here's your niece or nephew. Me and Scott
she'd love it.
We're gonna go take off for the day. We're gonna go tip up fishing early in the morning. Then we're gonna come back, eat lunch, and then we're gonna drive up and we're gonna go to a game farm for a couple hours and come back with some pheasants, and we'll have smoke some pheasants and
that sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. Margaret would love it. I mean, there's a reality bites to all that I have to buy out of state licenses for all that shit to go do that.
Yeah,
but
true.
And the thing is apparently I didn't get a Minnesota fishing license last summer, like to go fishing.
So you just bought a $20 license and then it's only good for one time? Did you buy the 3-day?
I just bought the 3-day.
Oh, okay.
Which was still $40. Out of state is $56 for just a regular license, but a 3-day is $40.
Yeah.
Alex and Haley, because they were under 18, were only $6 for a 3-day, or actually they were just $6, period. Theirs is still good forever. And so, yeah, if we came over and I spent another $40 to go ice fishing for the day, it's whatever. But I don't know if I would need any kind of license for the grouse hunting and whatnot.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, you gotta get your pheasant, all the pheasant stuff. But if
that out of state shit will get you.
Yeah, if you come over in March though, it'll be the start of a new year because I think February 28th or March 1st is when the new license starts. So like if people listening, if you're proactive about it and you go on there March 1st and go online and buy it, then you have it. Like that's why we.
Then you got it all year.
Yeah, that's why we give Seth shit, because he's like, well, if you're gonna go grouse hunting, then you might as well buy 4 whitetail tags, and if you're gonna go whitetail hunting, then you might as well buy a trout stamp, and like he must spend $200 a year on tags and like stamps for like waterfowl hunting, and it's kudos to him because it all goes back in to like helping Minnesota, like what we're doing, like licenses. So it's just really funny. I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude. It's like fucking almost $100 to go waterfowl hunting, and then you're going pheasant hunting and grouse hunting, and then you're going, fishing, and now you guys are going lake trout fishing. You gotta buy a stamp for that, and it's like, I don't know how you keep it all straight.
Yeah. He but I mean he gets out a lot. Mm-hmm. There's no question that he gets his money's worth.
Well, and that's the thing is we haven't heard from him in a while in the text group, so he's probably in his depression phase right now. The hunting season's over, so Jackie's probably taking the brunt of it, him just moping around.
He's got to get out and go fishing. I'm going, well, this Saturday we'll go again, run tip-ups. And the weekend after might run tip-ups again. And by then we're driving and we've got, that run of tournaments that we never catch anything on. And I don't know why we fucking do it, but
Tradition.
so it gets to be so much goddamn pressure on the lake. I don't even know what, like, fine, let's go fishing today, but let's not go where the tournament is and there's just ridiculous pressure on the lake. But we go out, almost always catch a few fish, almost always turn them in, and then spend the afternoon eating walking chili and sucking down bush lights until 10 o'clock at night. Is it really about the fishing? Not really. Fishing's what we do, but it's get together and have a good time and something to do in the winter. So
yeah.
And Mitch said it this weekend after we had a fishless first day, and sent something out in the text group, kind of went around and whatnot. And it was like, nope, we didn't really even see anything. And Mitch is like, well, I mean, that's fishing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you kill them, sometimes you don't. That's fishing. You kind of, and it's like, yep. And, I mean, bad day fishing, like they say, it's better than a good day of work. So,
yeah. Before we wrap this up, I know we talked about it before we started. Just a couple things we want to let the listeners know. Do you want to fill them in on that, Scott?
Yeah, well, go to Apple, go to Spotify, give us a review. The thing is, you guys are obviously listening and you've listened this far into the podcast, so you must think that we're doing okay. If you go and you give us a good 5-star review, and especially if you leave a comment like, Mackenzie's really good looking, Scott is super funny, whatever you want to say on there, keep it complimentary. That would do us a real favor. Anyway, the ratings go up and we get, more listeners. We're more viewable to more people, and it gives us the ability to keep doing this. So wherever you listen, Spotify and Apple are big ones. If you're on Amazon, if you're on Google, wherever you're listening, if you could go leave us a review, it would really, really mean a lot. And just type a comment. Doesn't really matter. These guys are great. Fine. It's going to take you 5 minutes. Go leave us a review. Also, we do have the website. There isn't a ton on the website. I'm trying to keep it updated. I'm trying to add new stuff. The website has links to all of our social. It's got sponsor pages. If you know anybody that wants to sponsor us, that would be great. And then there's a donate button. There's that you can just go to PayPal then and give us money. Great.
Yeah, but the money that they give us wouldn't go towards like fishing or hunting trips. It'd go towards, new mics, new headsets, new mixers, which like we already got another mixer, but it goes
subscription fees, things like that.
all-
There are costs.
Yeah.
There's costs to running a podcast. Just general overhead subscription costs for us every year is about $500. And then equipment costs, things get upgraded. That's another, it varies. But yeah, I mean,
how fancy we want to be.
We also, I know the T Public, the Border Outdoors store with the shirts and whatnot. I know a lot of folks bought something. It's not, I mean, this isn't Life is Good quality T-shirts or anything like that, but they're nice. I have 15 of those T-shirts. I literally wear them every day to the gym. I wear them every day. I got 15 Border Outdoors shirts. I wear them all over the place. Alex was wearing the sweatshirt this weekend. If you're not particularly fat, they fit really, really good.
Yeah.
If you are really fat, you're going to want to size up a couple. Again, you buy a shirt there. It supports the show and the fact that you're showing everybody, hey, look at Border Outdoors. We also get a small cut. Basically, for every T-shirt you buy, we get like $1. Again, mics, subscriptions, things like that. So not to bore you too much, but if you like the show and you feel like helping us out, there's a lot of great ways to do it.
Yeah, and I think Tim has a couple hats still left. We have a different clothing line that we can get stuff through, but it's not as easy as what Scott put together. But I know
if you want high-end shit, send us a message. We can get it.
yeah, we can get you high end stuff. It's just going to cost you a little bit more. And we do. I think he's got. I don't know, I'll have to go back on the community page, but I know he had 2 hats left. We have the Richardson 112 like trucker hats, which are really comfortable. I love them. I wear them every day. Same with you. I have border shirts that we were talking to my mom a long time ago about, like, you see them videos of like couples that have parties like dressed up as your significant other when you come to
Yeah.
the party, you know? And mom goes, that'd be easy for Mariah. All she has to do is wear a pair of jeans and a fucking border shirt.
Hell yeah.
And but no, we really appreciate you guys all listening to it, and we want to keep doing this. The big goal for us is to make it so that it's essentially, what do you call it? It runs itself, so that there's a lot less stress on doing things, and we can just get out there and hunt and fish and tell more stories. So
Yeah. Hell yeah.
but with that being said, with Border Outdoors, I'm Mac,
I'm Scott.
and we'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks for listening to the Border Outdoors podcast. Follow us on Instagram and be sure to join, follow, and share the Border Outdoors Facebook community page. Also, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Spotify, Apple, or whatever podcast hosting site you listen to. Tune in next week, see what we're talking about, and make sure to get out there and make your own memories.
Hunting and fishing, singing and kissing, here we come. So grab your guns, grab your lines, and here we come.